Hello, this is Becky Kreminga with Real Estate IQ in Houston, and I wanted to thank you for tuning in to this Floodology 301 replay, brought to you by Real Estate IQ and Property Wholesalers Club of Houston. First of all, a quick shout out to my husband Kevin for coming up with the Floodology name. Floodology came about because Richard Whitmore was looking into permitting requirements and insurance changes in the Houston area due to our frequent flooding, and came across some startling facts. It was his concern about investors not being hurt by these changes that led him to create this presentation. I hope you find this information useful and informative.
Welcome everyone. You can make your way to the chairs. All right, or brave people, You're not afraid of little coronavirus. All right. Well, this we're very happy to bring Richard back this month. Property Wholesalers Club. If you are not registered, find us on Meetup or on Facebook. And Real Estate IQ. Everybody knows Real Estate IQ. My and I know you'll have a minute to tell them a little bit more to those that don't know. But my twin Kevin has been coming to this. Oh, we're twins. You guys didn't know we're twins? He's been coming to the Property Wholesalers Club for a while, and Becky too. They've done some presentations, but Kevin has been faithful here to the club for many months, right? All right. So this month is gonna be a little bit different. It's gonna be more like a way how can we apply it, kind of like a workshop. So you can, if you brought some of your addresses, if you have some places that you would like to analyze, we can look through it. I guess Richard, you're gonna be doing a little bit of catch up for the ones that weren't here last month. A brief overview. Awesome. So, but most important part of it is that how do we apply? How do we use this information? We always say, knowledge is power, right? But knowledge without action doesn't do anything. So it's knowledge plus action. So you got the knowledge, you got some really good information. I know it was kind of like drinking water out of the fire hydrant. So it was too much information. So if you want to go back and look at the presentation, we recorded that. Quest was kind enough to help us doing the recording, right? Did you already started the recording for tonight? All right. So you can go to Becky and you can get 2 presentations we have in the right. Awesome. But again, so Richard's gonna do a quick overview, and but you'll be able to digest it slowly. If you want to go and take a look at those videos and have a little bit more information, start writing down, start saving some of those websites that Richard is recommending. Save them in your computer. So anytime that you're gonna do your due diligence with some of the properties, you know where to go. So you have to make this part of your process, but going through that process is going to be more simple. So, but Richard will go through that. We just want to give you the warm welcome. We're proud that you guys are here. Stay safe. I mean, we're having a lot of issues, everybody. I'm sure you guys heard about what they did with the rodeo. They're canceling the rodeo. Kind of weird. It's the first time that ever happens, right? But, like we can avoid a lot of those issues. We are glad that you are here. For the ones that you couldn't make it that are online, you're safe at home or in your office. That's a good place to be too. So if you don't need to go out, you're fine. And let me give the mic to Becky so Becky can the Property Wholesalers Club. So we've been doing this for for a while now, about 3 years, and we teach for free. We give some information. We are trying to teach the people how to wholesale properties, but also we put together the wholesalers with investors. So if you have money to invest and you want to find a good property or somebody to that can use your money, we know that. And Nicole is going to talk a little bit about Quest IRA, but you know that you cannot invest on your own projects, so you have to find some people that you trust, that you like, to get your deals going. This could be a good place. So networking, finding wholesaler, finding investors, same for the wholesalers to find buyers for their properties. It's a good place to meet. As you notice in the entrance, they give you the bonus for colors. If you're an investor, a wholesaler, whatever it is, right? So uh, get that information, register with the meetup or the Facebook, and just stay in touch. We meet the second Wednesday of every month.
All right. So Kevin and I are originally from Colorado. There we'd say, thank you for braving the cold to come out. But I don't have to finish it even, do I? I'd just like to bring out our sponsors for the evening, first of all. So first will be Nicole with Quest.
Oh, yay. Hello, everybody. My name's Nicole Fanoff. I'm an IRA specialist at Quest Trust Company. So I assume most people here, oh, thank you, are, are aware of who we are. If you don't know, self-directed IRA custodian that allows you to utilize your retirement accounts to purchase real estate, blah, 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 blah. What I really want to talk about is our real estate boot camp that we have this Saturday. Who here has a ticket? Raise your hand. That's most of you don't have a ticket. If you don't have a ticket, you're wrong. This is really an all-day real estate boot camp this Saturday at the Norris Conference Center in City Center. Guys, you have to be there. If you want to learn about real estate, we have a bunch of big names coming there. Not only do we have like Jason Bible and Chanel Grove, we even have Steve Vigil is going to be there too. So you got to go. Like, it's only $50 to go. And you have a bunch of keynote speakers, panelists, small groups, four corners. You have like a lot of people that you're getting like a lot of bang for your buck. Okay. And on top of that, we provide lunch to you guys, full sit down lunch, not like box food, like a full sit down lunch, and a drink ticket for our networking happy hour right afterward at 5:30 to 7. You don't want to miss it. It's in the City Center. If you want to use promo code REIQ for 20% off your boot camp, you can do that. However, I'm just going to throw something in that mix as well. The first person that comes to me at my booth by the bar after this Floodology event's over for the networking, I will give you 50% off a ticket. $25 for lunch, a drink ticket, and like 16, 17 different speakers and keynotes. All right? So please be there. If you don't have a ticket, again, what are you? Wrong. So if you're not doing anything this Saturday, come find us. We'll be there. Come see me at the booth. Oh, we did? He didn't tell me that.
Oh my God. Okay.
Okay, raffle ended the session. If you come to me, I'll get you 50% off if you don't win the raffle. For the first person who comes to me. Thank you.
Perfect. All right. The Wealth Club, we have Steve and Susan.
How is everybody doing tonight? Ready to get some good education? Great. Well, I'm Steve. Susan's taking pictures of me right now. We're the Wealth Club. We're also full-time investors, and that's really what we do. But our education side is the Wealth Club. We're very fortunate to take over the Wealth Club 3 years ago, and we're all about giving great education. Our next meeting, our meetings are always the last Thursday of the month, and our next meeting will be on the 26th. And I've got a great speaker coming from Dallas to talk about mobile homes on land, and they're buying 10, 15 properties a month. Some of them they keep as rentals, some of them they flip, but it's a great strategy that they've got. And, when we're in an economy like we are, which is a great economy, but it makes it very hard to find deals. So this could be a very good path for some of us to go down. And it's something I've been working on long before I decided to have Glenn Stromberg come down from Dallas to talk about that. So that's what we've got going on the 26th. We also do a lot of classes, and on April 11th, I'm going to be doing a workshop, and the workshop is going to be for passive investors. Like I said, we're also in an economy where this is very, very good, but I'm seeing some of my lenders getting hurt because of that, because they're lending on some of these deals that are too high to lend on, and they're foreclosing. And I've had some of my lenders come back to me, and I'm helping them try and figure out how we can get out of that property now that they've had to take it back. So I'm going to be giving a very good workshop on how I'm going to be talking about how we've done all the private lending we've done. In the years we've been doing this as investors, which is much longer than being the owners of the Wealth Club, we've flipped close to almost 500 properties. We've got a portfolio of rental properties of 60 properties. And for all the properties, we're taking all those down, I've always used private money. I've never used a hard money lender, always private money. So that would tell you that I've raised lots of private money, and I've got some very good systems on how I do that. And now that we're in an economy we're in, and it's tougher to find deals, I've had to create new opportunities to put some of our lenders in. And I'm now taking that out to other lenders and helping them out as well. So mark that on your calendar for the April 11th to get to that workshop, and you can go to our website, thewealthclub.org, and find out details about that. And last but not least, the boot camp is Saturday. Guys, this is going to be a really cool boot camp. I mean, I'm going to be on the first panel starting the whole thing off. We're going to be talking about the market in Texas, the real estate market in Texas. Then I'm going to do a case study, and then we're going to do some breakouts at the end of the day. It's going to be a really, really cool class and our boot camp. And, lunch, drinks, $50, unless you're lucky and get some freebies on that. It's great. Get signed up for it. It will be a great event. I think there's about almost 200 people signed up right now, very close to it. So get signed up for it. You don't want to miss it. And you will, like I said, I'm going to be speaking, but there's going to be some great, great speakers there. Lots of knowledge about this whole industry. And if you want to get involved and be a real estate investor, this is a place that you surely need to be. So Steve V. Hill, Wealth Club, get out and see us. Check us out at our website, thewealthclub.org. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Steve. Our next is Maurice with Value Funding, but he didn't make it he's in San Antonio. So I don't know if he just decided not to, but he didn't make it. So, but he does all kinds of loans. So if you are looking for that, let me know and I can give you his contact information. Go ahead. And Marilyn with Sukasa.
All right. Wow. Successful people. The hand of applause is for you guys to be here on, what day is today? Wednesday night. Anyway, it takes a little bit of courage to come out and actually learn something new, right? And educate yourself. I am a huge believer in education. I started Sukasa years ago. Actually, I started when I was a single mom. I was totally broke. I was pretty much unemployed. They let me go. I was a purchasing agent. And I wanted to go back to corporate America. How many of you feel like me? Okay, I'm glad I am in the right room. So pretty much I hated it, reporting to people from 9 to 5, right? So I came across to an event just like you guys today, and I heard something that I never heard before, like you don't need a license to do real estate. And I was like, what, really? So I was very shocked and I was amazed by the opportunity that I was hearing, like finding deals or motivated sellers. And I heard something that is stuck in my head. It was like finding those deals, putting those houses under contract and assigning those contracts for a fee. So I have been doing this for 6, 7 years, and I'm being successfully doing it every month. And I find motivated sellers. And actually, I partner with Real Estate IQ because we do host a free event on every third of the month. You guys are welcome to join us. And I teach, it's a Saturday from 9 to 12. So I teach different strategies. I teach how to find motivated seller, how to use Real Estate IQ to find motivated sellers and put those houses under contracts. Actually, I learned from a national guy how to work with realtors, because working with realtors is a little bit different. You need to know how to speak to them, because if not, they're gonna reject your offer. So pretty much it's like offering that 6% commission to them so they can work with you, and doing different things that is gonna help you to win your offer versus the other offers. So I'm been doing wholesaling and assignments successfully for the last 7 years, and I have made 5, 10, 20,000, 30,000. I have made up to $100,000 in one single transaction. Isn't that nice? Without you closing on a house, okay? Just by doing an assignment or a double closing, and without using your money. You use your buyer's money to close double. Anyway, I'm here today to give you my company, Wholesale Houses. So if you go to our website, you can see, some deals in our website if you guys are looking to buy a house. Now we get houses almost every day. We blast them out. I have 100,000 cash buyers in my buyers list. That means that somebody's gonna buy really quick. Sometimes these houses don't last too much. Some other times they last a lot. It's because it's not a deal, and we end on terminating the contract. But most of the houses that we get under contract, they are approved by me. I do this with my students because I also teach how to do it. And I have 4 weeks training, and I have one-on-one. So guys, check me out. You can check me on YouTube, Sukasa University, different testimonials. You can put Sukasa University testimonials, and you're gonna hear a lot of success stories. So anyway, I know I don't have too much time. So thank you for having me here today. Enjoy, and we talk soon. I'm gonna pass some information for my 4 weeks training that I am hosting right now. And the next one is I do it every other month. So right now is March, the next one is gonna be in May. Okay, thank you guys.
Thanks, Marilyn. Next, we have Troy, Real Property Management Avitus.
So we do property management, thank you. And what that means is, yes, we do collect rent, but we're really in the risk management business. That's how I always sell property management. And I'm always asked 2 questions whenever I have a potential client. And the first question is, what makes you different? And I think that's a fair question. And the answer to that is, this is all we do: residential rental property listing and management. We don't buy or sell. We're not doing anything. We're focusing on residential rental properties so we can respond to what you need. The next question I get is usually from 2 kinds of property owners: those who are either doing self-management or those who are using somebody else and they're not happy. And the question they often ask me is, why should I use you? And I always answer their question with a series of questions. I ask them, I say, are you satisfied going to pick up the rent on your own and waiting for that check to clear? I ask them, are you satisfied about answering phones in the middle of the night, going down there to fix the toilet the next day? Are you satisfied with putting forth your best effort, but things aren't working out just because you don't have the proper time or tools? The other people that ask me questions are with someone else and they may not be happy. And I ask them, are they satisfied getting paid sometimes 15 days or later when the rent's collected on the 4th day of the month? All of our people have already been paid this month. Are you satisfied paying more for repairs and only to find out that the person who did those repairs wasn't properly licensed or insured? Are you satisfied when your listing sits out there for a long time and you're not knowing or communicating or wondering why the market's doing what it's doing? Are you satisfied when your tenant who was really good all of a sudden is not coming back and you don't know why? And finally, are you satisfied when the tenant that you thought was good ended up leaving and left a whole lot of damage there that you're just now finding out about? If your answer to any of those questions is you're not satisfied and you would like to have a conversation with us on how we can do a better job, I would like to hear from you. We have a table outside, and I'm also doing something that I normally don't ever do. I know it's not a cheap service in any means if it's done right, but we sent these out today to all our clients and property owners we know outside of the state. and it is $150 off of any of our services if you sign up with us by May the 1st. And it's also, if we do your listing, we'll give you an additional month free, which I hardly ever do. I have 11 of these left, and if you would like one, come and see us. And I want to thank Becky for having us. Thank you.
Oh, there you are. Where'd he go? David with Strat Ventures.
Yes, I'm David. I do business development for Strata Ventures, but I'm gonna cut it really short. We're basically real estate education implementation. What we do is we do a 1-month education in class to actually give you the tools you need to go ahead and move forward in your real estate path. And then we do 3 months of unlimited 2-hour sessions of implementation. A lot of the people here, we have a lot of partner affiliates already, and we have some members here. So that's pretty much it.
Thank you. And Anderson, we have Denise.
All right, I flew in from Florida. I don't get applause. I know you get tired after a while. Looking forward to hearing what we're going to hear tonight on Floodology. If you aren't familiar with who we are, Anderson Advisors, we're attorneys and CPAs that are real estate investors that cover and protect real estate investors. That's what we do. A lot of the strategies that we teach you, we set up your corporations, your LLCs, we help you save money on your taxes. If you're in the middle of tax season and working on that right now, maybe you're going, oh, I don't want to stroke that check to the IRS. If you don't, come and meet us now so you won't have to do that next year. Something else that we do is we offer education. We do education courses here in Houston, Austin, Dallas, at least once a quarter, because awesome courses. Thank you. That's right. You just went. Excellent. Thank you for that endorsement. Terrific classes, because it's really selfish on our part. If you understand the why we do something, you're a whole lot easier client to work with. So you aren't calling us and nagging at us every other day, or we aren't having to explain 30 times why we do things the way we do it. We want you to know. So when you pick up the phone and say, hey, I need an entity, you're already going to know if it's an LLC, if it's a C corporation, and what state is that in? Is it always in Texas? Could it be Wyoming or Nevada or Delaware, or maybe it's a property you're investing in someplace else in the United States? So we guide you along that process. My name's Denise. I don't have the coronavirus, even though I just flew in today, I promise. So come out and say hello. I've got great brochures, tax cheat sheets, and asset protection brochures. Come see me. Thank you, Becky. Hi, Kevin.
And somebody new to the Houston vendor scene, real estate investment vendor scene, Don with FloodSafe USA.
Thank you, everyone. Okay, so I want to thank Becky and Richard for having me out, and everyone. So FloodSafe USA, we are a flood-proofing company. Most people say, well, how in the world do you do that? Or I didn't know you could do that. But we flood-proof light commercial and residential projects, no matter what type of exterior you have, whether that is brick, stone, siding of any type, it can all be flood proofed, even a steel metal building exterior. So we have a comprehensive method of flood proofing your walls, your doors, your windows, and we offer passive systems, which are much like passive income, where you don't have to do anything but close up your doors and windows and you're flood proofed. And then we have other systems that require some involvement, as far as putting barriers in place in front of your doors and windows and things like that. Typically, you know, you get into the economics of things when it comes to one or the other. But you can text FloodSafe to 31996 if you want to go to a direct landing page. It'll come straight to me. Or if you come by the table out there, I've got business cards and a few brochures and all kind of pictures and things like that. If you want to take a look at that or talk further, typically, you know, we can talk on the phone down the road if you want. And then at some point, if you want to arrange for an assessment at your property, we can come out and do that. It takes about an hour. We'll spend going around the property with you and talking to you about different aspects of flood proofing your structure. So that's it. And we have a website, floodsafeusa.com. Again, that's all on the card and on the table out there if you want to come by and talk. Thank you.
Thank you, Don. All right, Richard's going to come up and tell us a little bit about TL Global, what he does when he's not doing floodology events.
So money is made in real estate when you solve problems. Does real estate ever have problems? So our topic tonight is about flooding, but there's a different category of problem that's been around since I've been in real estate, and that goes back to '77. So I'm still learning. The problem is that our lending industry often cannot finance people who have lots of cash and lots of cash flow. Anybody in this room ever seen that before? Yes. So we have a system that allows us to do that. And here's what we do. We put you in a position as a flipper or as a realtor to be able to solve that problem. And you might be unlocking a family that's been 15, 20 years renting and didn't have any hope or any thought that they could finally get out of that problem, unless they found an owner finance seller who would agree to some kind of terms. So what we offer the public is a no documentation loan, meaning no credit app, no credit score, no bank statements, no tax returns. If you go online and look at no documentation loan Texas, what you're going to find is 12 to 14% interest rates. Ours are 8.4 to 10.9. You're going to find prepayment penalties. We don't have one. You're going to find that they still require documentation. We don't. This is a stated income loan. You're also going to find that they have balloons. And the balloons are really ugly. If you look online, you'll see 1 year, 3 year, 5 year balloon. Could you imagine being new to this country? Oh, let me back up a sec. We don't require a social security number and we don't require citizenship. So could you imagine being here from another country and immigration has told you that you'll have your papers in 18 months? The problem is they've told you that 7 times and you're still waiting. So you're facing a situation at the end of the balloon where you have to either sell, refinance, or walk away. If you can't refinance, what do? You nested your family in a home and now you've got to get out. That doesn't work. In our vernacular, we don't want to turn a hero into a zero. We don't want a man that became a hero to his wife and kids to find himself in a very awkward situation. So we don't have a prepayment penalty. We're providing a 30-year loan. As a flipper, we market for you. You don't have to find the buyer. We will do that. We've actually recently spent a bunch of money and effort to produce radio and TV commercials. So as a flipper or a realtor, all you have to do is say, Richard, would you add your marketing to my marketing? I've got a realtor that's doing work for me. Would you also add owner financing? Would you come put a sign in the yard? Would you send the agent remarks to my agent so that she knows what to do with the listing? And would you hurry up and get me a buyer? That's what we do. Thank you. Oh, by the way, I have flyers if anybody should want some flyers.
All right, and then real quick, for those of you that don't know about Real Estate IQ, we are #1 in deal finding. We have over 45,000 total leads every month. And we're tools for real estate investors. So at the very lowest level, we have our deal analysis suite, unlimited CMAs, You can run your own comps for 15 bucks a month. So if you are not a real estate agent and you're even shopping for wholesalers, maybe you're not marketing for deals, you still need to be able to evaluate those deals. So you uses actual, very updated, sold MLS data to get your comps. And we have a couple calculators as well. Our deal finding suite is what you do when you're ready to market to those motivated sellers. So we have our 10 lists of off-market leads. All these pre-foreclosure, I won't read them all. You can read them. If you're looking for one and it's not there, let me know, because we're missing it then. These are updated every day with the new filings from the courthouse. So you always get the most recent data, and you can be one of the first to try to get to those people. So that's our deal finding suite. It also has our county data finder, which lets you pull a list from the tax records of, say, absentee owners. If you're looking for mobile homes, small apartments, those kind of things, you can get that from the tax records. Our premium suite comes with the skip tracing already done, which means 5 of those lists have email addresses and phone numbers already there. So it depends on what your marketing strategy is on what's the best level for you. We also have on-demand skip tracing. So even if you don't use our service, but you want to find the owner of a property, we can do that. And we have some commercial suites as well. So we have a new marketplace, a new website. We have a new community coming soon where you can connect with other investors. So kind of a social media site just for our investors in Texas. So you'll want to check that out for sure when that's ready. All right, our company's growing. We've expanded to Florida and Georgia, and we're looking at adding 6 new markets this year. So we're looking for people that want to invest. If you've got $10,000 or so sitting in an IRA, and you can invest it with us, and that'll help with the technology and the growth that we need, and you can earn a good interest rate. It's a 1-year term. So talk to Kevin or I if you're interested in that. If you want to work for us, we don't want to go to every single event in Houston. We do now, but if you would like to go to events and represent Real Estate IQ, and you could see yourself doing that and earning some commissions and stuff like that, see us about that as well. All right. That's our spiel. Yes.
And thank you for helping putting all this together. It's not, it's been a lot of work, and you guys get, thank you, Becky. Thank you, Kevin. And I want you to especially give Richard this applause, because he was a little bit under the weather, and he just gathered some strength. Nothing to do with that. Not contagious, but he's, he made a great effort to be here today. So we were wondering, but we're so glad you're here. So big applause for him. You want to introduce him?
I think you just did.
He's gonna go through some of the catching up with some of you, right? He's gonna do a little bit of a review, and if you have any questions, just raise your hand. He'll point it out, and he's gonna be doing some like workshop format, right, Richard? So please ask for the mic. Raise your hand and ask for the mic, because the people that is online cannot hear your questions. And we'll make that a little bit easier.
Okay, so you got to go to slide format or present format. Okay, so I recognize a bunch of faces, some that I see at a lot of events, but some of you I have seen at least one previous event. Would you raise your hand if you attended at least one Floodology event before? Wow. Okay, so I would like to honor you showing up again, because I want to go deeper. I've had a chance to get some feedback from folks, and one of the things was it's too fast. It's just too much, too fast. So I've reorganized some things, added some things. I have a whole nother presentation, about 80 slides that we'll see if it fits in sometime in the future, about development and growth that's coming to Houston and what the city is doing to help things grow. Specifically tonight, as Hector said, the intent is to go deeper. The intent is to look at how to use these tools. So let's go. So we all know it's Becky's fault that we're doing this, right? Yeah. So I'm grateful that you expressed that to Becky warmly. Again, I'm just a parrot. The reality is, as a messenger, you guys could have found a lot of these things. They're public data, and you could have researched them yourself. So I'm not standing here as someone special. I'm standing here as a parrot. So I've been plucked of my feathers, but so one of the quotes I used is that money is made through the law, through the knowledge of law and taxes. Guys, change creates opportunity. Change also can run over us in investment if we do not adjust to what has taken place. I'm going to challenge each of you tonight, wholesaler, flipper, buy and hold, private lender. I'd like to ask you, when you get done with the presentation tonight, and actually some of you as you've processed this more than once, I need to ask you why you would not change your practices, your business practices. The intent behind this is to help you prosper and to prevent you from taking a hit, a good large hit. So laws change, right? And then the money changes because the law changes, right? When the money changes, it begins to affect the market. And when the market changes, it ripples for some time to come. Some of what I've done is I've arranged the slides in a way different than before. And my intent is that you would begin to see some of the cause and effect that's ahead. You would recognize, oh, when this happens, it's going to cause this and this to happen. That should hopefully serve as a motivator. So a big, quick overview. I told you before I had 7 slides that if you caught those 7 slides, you would get the gist of it. This is one of those slides. So flood insurance was required for anything below 100-foot floodplain plus 1 foot, top of slab. But the 100-foot is gone. We now require a 500-year plus 2 feet. That's a significant difference. That could be 3.5, 4.5 feet difference in our community. That's pretty tough to do on flat land. So part of what our city has acknowledged is that rainfall patterns are changing. Have we not noticed it if we lived here a while? Have we not noticed some rainfall patterns that are significantly different? Look at it in the Northeast. So our estimates as to what we would be dealing with versus reality are entirely different. If you look at the red column, those are the standards for the 100-year and the 500-year, those 2 columns, 12-hour and 24-hour. But Harvey actually, as we know, ended up with an annual rainfall in 4 days. That's a big difference. And from an engineering standpoint, that's very difficult to deal with. It's affecting what's happening with subdivision development. It's affecting the standards that the city has to impose. And why do they have to impose that? Money came from FEMA for a lot of people, right? So they understand that in the future, the only bucket of money that's probably going to be available to help Houstonians is FEMA. So they must bow to the standards required. It is not a place to throw a tantrum and buck that system, because in the future, we're going to need their help. So you can expect, I'm going to talk about this, we have new floodplain maps coming. But one of the things you're going to find out is that the maps we have were incorrect in many places. What you're going to find is so many properties that were supposedly out of the floodplain flooded. My wife and I flooded 3 times in 2 different properties outside of the floodplain. I ended up almost 2 years on a walker and a wheelchair after throwing my furniture away. So I understand this a little bit from the inside of the effects. Next thing, flood insurance rates used to be pretty mild. Get ready, folks, because they're not going to be mild again. In fact, the new standard, which begins next month, they will publish the rates. In October, the first rates will manifest. Those rates will be as high as $9,500 a year per property. That's $800 a month. And what you're going to find when you study the maps and look, it's going to be in a lot of places where people cannot afford that. The ripple effect, the first ripple effect I'm going to tell you is it's going to affect some neighborhoods. It's going to cause some neighborhoods to be, to use Jim's term, radioactive. And I happen to agree that it's going to cause, in this day of social media, we all know that when the rumor mill starts, is the rumor mill accurate? Tends to be not accurate, right? Well, my concern is there's going to be some subdivisions that are going to be affected negatively by the rumor mill. And that's going to impact people's property values. So I challenged in the last meeting, please use the tools you'll see, check property, your own properties, properties of your family and your friends. Please help them, because this isn't going to happen that I know of on TV. There's not going to be any broadcasting, so we're going to have to spread it. And it's frankly, from the city standpoint, it's too complicated. So I'm grateful for those of you who have come to learn. So these are the flood elevations. The first column there is anything that's 4 foot below the 500-year floodplain plus 2. That's a lot of properties, folks. That's a lot of properties. So we have a lot of neighborhoods that are under 240, 250, right? Those people are in those neighborhoods because that's what they could afford. You add $800 a month and you've potentially driven them from their house. So that might mean foreclosures. But wholesalers and flippers, those might not be foreclosures that you would like to go buy. In fact, you might think it's the greatest deal you've ever heard of, except you remembered and you came here and decided to check things out. So even at the low end, we're still in the 400s. And government has a pattern, right? They call it the camel's nose under the tent. He sticks his nose under the edge of the tent, and we have a starting place, and then things increase from there. FEMA, our government, paid out an awful lot of money, and they've got to fill that bucket back up again. Not just for Houstonians, but for the stuff that's been happening all over the country. And look, you saw the increases going on in the Northeast. What did I do? Okay. So in the past, salty veteran rehabbers would buy a house, particularly if the ARV was going to be under 225. They would buy a house, fix it up, and they would put it back on the market. And if it was under 225 and it's shiny and it's got the new floors and it makes mama's eyes twinkle, all of that becomes a positive for flipping that house. But I suggest to you cause and effect. Again, I go back to neighborhoods that will become radioactive. And you're going to find out that there are a lot of disclosures that are going to cause people to pause. And then I would add to that further, beginning probably later this month, certainly by next month, this is going to be a topic of conversation in the Houston Chronicle and on the 6 o'clock news for some of our local stations. You can expect that's going to happen. And then you don't have to imagine, you don't have to extrapolate much to think about where that goes and how that may affect values in neighborhoods. So if you're a flipper and this information becomes public, which it's going to, who's your buyer for that house? Maybe a developer. Yes, I agree with you. Maybe a developer. That's a whole nother thought, but yes, that's a whole nother slide deck. So if you look here, citywide, we had just under 150,000 properties, but over 90,000 of those were outside the floodplain, as the maps read now, right? Stay tuned, folks. The maps are going to change again. So this year we're going to get insurance rates, but they're going to change again because the maps are in process right now. Look at 500-year, 28,459 properties. Does that tell you that our maps might not be accurate? You're going to find out in a minute that the reality is we have about 2,500 miles of streams and creeks and bayous and all of that, half of which have never been mapped. So I'm ahead of myself in my own slide. So understand the status of properties as they stand now are going to change. So if you're an investor, you need to see ahead of that as to what might happen, not just with that one single house, but the neighborhood in which it sits when the maps change again. So in the past, investors paid low prices and they rehabbed them and they said, I won't flip it now, I'm just going to do a rental. Go ahead.
The question is, when these maps come out, have they decided how they're going to roll them out? Obviously, if they bring Bel Air out, it's going to tank. If they bring Kingwood out, it's going to tank. And those are both going to be in there.
I have a slide in a minute that's going to show you the timeline for the maps. Obviously, all of this is, I mean, I was taught, one of my mentors taught me that an ugly truth was better than a sweet lie. And frankly, we've been living under a bunch of sweet lies. Our mapping hasn't been accurate. So the rollout from a marketing standpoint, I have not seen any data on that. I think they're going to have an obligation to basically, if you will, download to our community in mass. That's my understanding. So it will have an impact when it rolls out. So again, I go back to you who buy and hold. Some of you who buy and hold and have properties now that you're making $400 a month on, you need to look and see, please look and see if you're not going to end up $400 a month negative because of your insurance. And if you got buddies that fix and flip, please warn them as well. Let's prosper in our real estate community. Let's avoid it, if you will. So this is the map. This is what I told you that I was going to share with you. This is the timeline for introducing the new flood insurance rate maps. This is the timeline for it. So we captured that. Just understand just as soon as you thought it was settled and everything was okay, understand it's going to change again.
And you will have access to all this information. So like, just let us know. You're welcome to take pictures. It's not a
You're welcome
problem.
to take pictures, but yes, we'll make the slide deck available. The intent behind this is not to withhold information. The intent is to empower our investment community to do better, to prosper. That's the intent. So, sellers' disclosures. We're not going to be able to say as sellers, oh, I didn't know that. I just bought a house to flip. I didn't know. We're not going to be able to do that because we're now required, as of September 1 of last year, we're now required to do, if you'll look in pink there, see at the bottom, and then see all of that, and then see all of that at the top. Those are all changes in the seller's disclosure per the Texas Property Code for all of Texas, but certainly it affects our market. And if you look at that, I encourage you to look at the new seller's disclosure. And if you're a flipper, if you're a buy and hold, I want you to read that with the idea in mind of how will I fill this out when I go to sell the property? It might cause you to not buy the property. Are we not taught as investors to look for as many exits as possible before we ever enter in? So I submit to you, this could be, by metaphor, the equivalent of fire at the exit, and might be tough to walk through. Another thing here in the Katy area, the public awareness is going to increase about what we call flood pools. Those are the subdivisions that were developed, many of them along Fry Road, that are at the George Bush Reservoir. So if you read the fine print in the MUD documents, it would indicate that perhaps those subdivisions should not have been built. There's lawsuits in process right now concerning this topic. And I suggest to you that, again, in targeting locations for your investment, this is probably going to have an impact on those properties. And I have friends that live in some of those subdivisions. So I'm not wishing this on anybody. It is, again, cause and effect. It's dominoes being put in motion. And frankly, what I'm reporting to you is dominoes that have already been struck, and they're already motion. We're out ahead of it in terms of the general public, but we're not out ahead of it in terms of when it triggered and when it started. This is our map next. This is state-of-the-art mapping that's being done for Harris County. And it will be the model, probably, maybe, I hope I'm not embellishing, but I believe it'll be a model for the rest of the United States and might carry to, I believe the company's going to be hopeful that it'll be a world class kind of a structure. What's represented is we're not going to be inaccurate. We're going to be very accurate. And we'll talk about elevation certificates in a minute. So a lot of guys I know that rehab pretty much did not pay attention to city permits. I'm not going to mess with that, right? I'm just fixing the house. I'm going to fix it up nice. And a lot of other excuses that that we've probably all heard. What the city is now requiring, not the county, but the city, the 669 square miles of the city is requiring that permits be closed. So if you're the buyer of that property and those permits are not closed prior to you buying it, you're accepting the responsibility for what the city now wants for those permits. So all of it, electrical, roofing, siding, driveways, on and on and on, all of it. So the city has made the statement in-house and they repeat it, and that's that they don't want anybody else, they don't want anybody to die. They want somebody's kid to be lost. And they can't pretend that it's not going to rain more. And they can't pretend that there's not going to be more development in the north part of Houston. And they can't pretend that the new development to the north is not going to affect things downhill. Because it's all going to Galveston, isn't it? It's all going to Galveston. And it all goes by different paths. But their written commitment is to keep our citizens safe. So I'm not an attorney. I'm not an ambulance chaser, but I do recognize some risk to the city that if they don't take real steps to keep the citizens of Houston safe, I think they're liable. They're going to find themselves in a very awkward place. And I don't want to have that happen. I think our money could be spent more constructively. So permitting. Permitting's been required for a while. If you will notice, we had 149,576 structures citywide, but only 5,202 permits were issued and only 1,991 were finalized. That's a bunch of unpermitted work, guys. May have been great quality. The people who did it may have done it with a clear conscience as to the quality. They would have been willing to have their grandmother move into that place because of the quality of the work they did. But I want you to be aware of some traps, some liability. I want you to avoid those traps. I don't want you to be snared. So city permits, again, I've been in real estate 43 years next month, and permits have not been a big deal in negotiations on the purchase of property. But the brokers today are actually being taught to leverage paragraph 7F, which I'm about to show you guys in the 1 to 4 family contract. And they're doing this, oh, you represented that the permits were done. You represented that you didn't do any unpermitted work. So the day before closing, they present a series of documents that are readily available through the city to document the amount of work that has been done that was not permitted, or they never closed the permits. So what's going on is there's negotiations taking place 24 hours before the closing, where the buyer says, we don't know what all this is going to cost us. This is an unknown. We think a reasonable number is $12,000. Oh, we'll negotiate it to $10,000 off the price the day before closing. I don't want any of you to get caught in that at all. I'm going to show you section 8 on the seller's disclosure. So permits. This is right off the city's permitting department. Seller must obtain all required permits for repairs. So here you are, the buyer. If the seller has not closed out those permits, you now become responsible. So are you going to have leverage with the plumber that the seller dealt with a year ago? Probably not, right? And what if that plumber's not in business anymore? That's an ugly scenario. Even the seller may find himself in a situation, or herself, where the plumber is gone. She has to reopen a new permit and start the process again and take it all the way through to closing. Approval, yes.
Is there any, where do you find the permits that have been pulled for that property? Online, or do you have to?
You're very good. You're just a few slides ahead. Your brain is working. Good for you. So, paragraph 7F, if you will look up there, this is the disclosure, the seller's disclosure. And if you'll look at section 8 there, I'm just going to walk over off screen. Right here. Room additions, structural modifications, or other alterations or repairs made without necessary permits, with unresolved permits, or not in compliance with building codes in effect at the time. Seller's got to answer that yes or no. So what's going on is people are answering this no only to be found out that they didn't tell the truth. Or honestly, they may have flipped the house or only had the house for a year. They might be totally ignorant of it. But the law doesn't treat ignorance very favorably. So this is a form that I would suggest. This is a Houston Association of Realtors form that might be a good part of your package when you do a contract to sell your property, or even to acquire the property, in terms of notice about the regulations. So another shifts and changes. In the past, we did surveys. We didn't do elevation certificates. Why would you do an elevate? Why would you pay the money? Okay. Now, you might want to use an elevation certificate to renegotiate with your insurance carrier, to be able to use the survey company's seal to counteract the false maps, and to be able to demonstrate to the insurance company that you've got the truth and they do not have the truth. And that might affect your rate. This kind of stuff may become a niche for some fines. I suggest that for all of us in the city of Houston, in Harris County, and as the surrounding counties imitate the city of Houston and Harris County, we've watched it happen. My suggestion is that we should make it a pattern, just part of our acquisition system, that we're going to get a survey and an elevation certificate. The other thing we might view that is as a marketing tool. Okay. I would not want to loan on a property unless I knew that I knew and had the documentation, third party, to prove that it was out of the soup. So this is elevation certificates. I won't go too far in the weeds here, but if you look at the circle there, that's you're going to want the identification of the 500-year +2. I happen to favor that company. I'm not advertising for them, but they do good work. The other thing is, this is your elevation certificate. So you want to start having this in your package. Now, obviously, if you're out on the perimeter, I live out in Sealy. I'm in Austin County. It's not the only place that I'm involved in from a real estate standpoint, but I'm not worried about this at this time. So the floodplain management office is who sets the standards. So if you want to know who's writing the rules, this is the local rule maker. And these are the ones who are going to provide standards to our survey companies. So if your survey company has question about this, I actually had one recently that I asked the surveyor about, and I discussed this, and he knew nothing about it. He knew nothing about it. Another shift. So it's easy to have a kitchen fire, right? Anybody can have hail damage in our community. But here's another cause and effect that might ripple here. We could find ourselves being affected in terms of being able to obtain our permits, our gas and water connections without raising our slab to 500 feet plus 2. And this becomes the avenue to do that. So the city gets into this for cumulative, that's a great word, isn't it? Ties my tongue up. Cumulative $10,000. It's the city only, that's correct. That's correct, Mike. So I'm going to get into something else called substantial improvements. And this is where we go beyond 10,000. 10,000 is the trigger. It's the identifier. It's what the city uses to wake up the system. So substantial damage. Substantial damage is 50% of the market value of the structure. The market value is not based on the land. It's based on the improvements. Folks, Harris County Appraisal District, I'm not throwing rocks at them, I'm just reporting. You got a house out there that might be worth $330,000. And they have assessed $30,000 for the improvements and $300,000 for the land. So when you go to $15,001, you now face what's called substantial improvements. So substantial damage is a really key trigger. Aren't we as rehabbers, aren't we renovating substantial damage on many properties? This is, a lot of people consider and have been taught for years that that's a real fine. But I'm going to suggest to you when we get into the tools later that one of your pilot's checklist is going to be to check HCAD, if that applies, that you check HCAD and see what they show for the improvements, not the lot, and how that might affect you in terms of permitting. By the way, demolition is included in that, and market value could also be done by an appraisal, not by the city, but the city is typically lower, right? Or every one of us would be down there in line protesting. So the HCAD valuation is typically less. So again, permits, this is stuff that's already in place. It's not gonna be. These are where you would find the different ordinances that are related. And what we're doing is being a resource to each other and our peers. And what we're doing is being involved in creating real value for the ongoing future instead of financial destruction that ends up in the news all over the place. Do any of us want that? I don't want that reputation for Houston. I would rather respect all the effort that's been put together to create the new standards, and I would rather implement and help people not be hurt in the future because of something I was involved in. The city has a lot of amazing information. These are the top 10 service requests, but for some of you who find lots, did you know that there's a report when the grass is up too high? So maybe that might be an out-of-state owner, that might be somebody who isn't as interested in their property anymore. Don't we look for distressed sellers and distressed properties? Isn't that a fundamental that we're taught? Anybody ever seen that one before? Anybody? No? Ed, that's because you talked to me. We had this discussion. So Houston 311, guys. This is an incredible tool. If you don't have it, it's available for your phone as an app. It documents all this stat. The city is using heat maps. Todd, would you come put up the Houston, the city of Houston, our elected officials are using the heat maps to allocate dollars. So what's going on is civic associations, homeowners associations that make noise about the pothole and this situation and that situation, money is being allocated to those communities. And the ones who are not making noise, you can follow it, they don't get the money. So it's the old squeaky wheel gets the grease. What's interesting about this is you can use the heat maps. Go ahead and open it up all the way. Yeah, it's not cooperating. Okay, so we need to go back because we're not where the heat maps are. They were right on that previous page. Okay. So we can just use this one right here. Every one of these has an identifier. Oh, that one says no information. Sure enough, the one I picked had to be that. So here we go. This goes through and tells us exactly what's going on with that particular situation. So if you're studying an area, if you're studying a subdivision to go after, this might be a tool to let you know what's going on if you don't live there. Might give you some clues. Can we go back to the slides? Thanks, Todd. Yep. It's got to be the other one because we're deeper. There we are. Yeah. Would you put it on presentation mode? Should be over to the right. It's like a screen. Yeah. As soon as I get the mouse to cooperate. Bingo. So it lags a little bit, and I'm going to apologize in advance about this. So we already talked about this, that we've got to disclose. Understand that we have to disclose on the seller's disclosure, the work that we do. In the past, I agree, it was not attended to, but they've made it public and clear because they don't want anybody to die and because they know there's an awful lot of people moving here and they know there's going to be more rain and they know that more people downhill are going to be affected by that. The only way they know to push back is to begin with this as part of their process. And I can't say if I sat in a room, I don't know that, I certainly don't know that I could have contributed anything better to what they're doing. Here's what is required. And if you notice in the red, we have to answer on the seller's disclosure. So the items on the right are required. Many of us as rehabbers, renovators, many have done this without permits. Would you agree? I don't want you to tell on yourself. So HoustonPermittingCenter.org is going to be a tool for you for more than one reason, not just for getting your permits, but for affecting your choices in your purchases. We'll go deeper in this in a minute. This is the tool that we used. I'm going to demonstrate this in a minute with Todd's help. We're going to look at actual permitting on a property. And then when you see some things that might give you some clues, I'm going to show you where you email to request for the full package for the last 3 years. That's what's required. So data can be really helpful if it's handled well. So on this particular website from the permitting department, you can plug in the job address or the buyer's name or whatever for the property that you're anticipating purchasing. And this is where you begin the search. And again, we'll demonstrate this in a minute. So here's an example of a particular project and the variety of work that was done on that particular property. So some other pitfalls. Sidewalks have been 4-foot requirement all my career. In the city of Houston, they're now 5, period. There's no appeal. Culverts, to meet current stormwater runoff standards, they have to go to 24 inches. So when you go to get the driveway permit, just understand you'll have to pull up that 18-inch culvert and replace it with a 24. So if I was a lender, I might want to see that in the budget.
I have a question.
Yes.
For the sidewalk, is that just the sidewalk on the street or for like properties that
Sidewalk at the street, public right of way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, what you do up on your own lot, you can hopscotch if you want and do little papers. That is correct. That is correct. But they're going to eventually get those other neighbors as well. And that's their plan. They recognize they can't do this overnight, so they got to begin somewhere. Don't you know that? They're going to go around them. They're going to split them. They're going to do, they're going to create visual interest, right? If you're a flipper, this is $95 to get that final certificate of compliance. You might consider this as well spent $95 in your marketing. It becomes an attachment to your listing. Could be well spent $95. Especially you got a buyer coming here and they're reading social media. I mean, this stuff is going to get, it's going to be in social media. And I have to say that if it's anything like other things I've seen in my lifetime, a lot of it is not going to be reported very accurately. And so it's going to maybe have a dampening effect or a cautioning effect on buyers. So I'm just suggesting this is one more tool to cause the buyer to say yes and amen. I'm going to do this property. Elevation certificate is another one of those pieces. Multifamily. I know some people in this room that are involved in this. When you go to 3 units or more in the city of Houston, you come under the multifamily ordinance. And I'm going to suggest to you that you look that up if you already own property, that you look that up because it is much more onerous than doing a buy and hold on a duplex or a buy and hold on a single family. Many of us have been taught, I mean, I learned at one time I managed 130 single family homes. I didn't have the courage that Troy does. I don't know where Troy is, but I didn't like having to go to that many locations to deal with problems. I like my roofs together and my lawn care in one place. So a lot of people teach that, and a lot of people feel like I graduated from single family and I want to do multifamily. And what I'm suggesting to you is where we can get hurt. I have family members investing in multifamily, but it's not a large scale. It's not a 50, 100, 250 unit project. Little different rules. A lot of people are not expecting the rules that are here for 3 units, 4 units, 5 units. Yeah, Ed?
I have a duplex, 2 units.
Doesn't apply.
The city is telling me if you call it multifamily.
If you have 2 tax IDs, how many water meters do you have?
1 now, looking for 2.
Yeah. So where they get us is when we apply, they look to see how many water meters we have. And that's what triggers it.
Okay. That's what did.
Yeah.
Do you have the site to that? Do you have the?
It's multifamily.org.
Yeah, but the you says chapter 10 is that in the city
Just go
code?
deeper on the site.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. So this is a certificate of compliance for a rental unit in a 3 unit or more. Many of you don't realize that in the city that it's a requirement. So, got any football fans in this room? Yeah. Yeah. So isn't there a common statement that defense wins championships? Guys, a lot of what I'm showing you is defense. It's defense you can build into your everyday processes. It's defense. Your offense is to go out there and to acquire, but I'm going to suggest that your playbook might change as to where you move the ball to. But much of this is defense. It's defense for you. If you're a wholesaler and you're trying to sell it to flippers, if you have informed flippers who know about this stuff, are they going to buy that property you found that's outside of these criteria? Probably not. Probably not. If there will be some, oh yeah, but the disclosure aspect might affect the future of that transaction after it closes. So historic district, I'm not going to go into that. Some other things about our surveys is there's some really crazy stuff in parts of our town regarding easements and building lines. You need to find out what you really own. There's a couple of developers I know of in the room. They might recognize that that's a foundation to development, is establishing those lines. Again, I'll go on here. Right away. This is the same discussion as the sidewalk. If you notice, we have a lot of infill properties, right? And a lot of people put nice rocks in the public space because they don't want anybody to park on the grass that they mow and maintain that they don't actually own because it's in the public right of way. The city has said they are cracking down on this for sure, And it also affects our real estate signs. They're not to be in the right of way. And the reality is that if you look at the bottom of this slide on the left, all of those departments are set up to write citations for this stuff. So again, defensive maneuvers. All can issue citations, so beware. Did you know that the city has permitting? They'll make you aware of who's doing permits. They'll also make you aware of those who have applied for developments permits. If David Weekly comes into an area in Spring Branch, blocks up some land, and builds a bunch of $500,000 houses, might that impact some things around it? Again, this might be used for fishing, for where you put your line in the water. This is a resource to be used. In the building business, a lot of the guys that have wherewithal don't like this, but smaller builders will piggyback on the marketing dollars of bigger projects. So they'll buy the land next to them and they'll put their signs next to them. And what they're doing is that public company has tremendous amounts of marketing dollars. And they're driving traffic to their locations. And so the smaller builder looks for a way to ride that and get benefit from it. So you who are looking to flip in certain areas, could you not borrow that technique? I've really covered this about floodplain management. Detention has changed. The developers in the room can certainly tell us that. Where I want to go with this specifically, some people are being told that they got to provide a drainage plan for their single family lot.
Could be an HOA requirement.
Yes, and it could prove to not be as much as, it could be a little more than a pack of Wrigley's gum. It might have some zeros on it by the time you pay for that to be done. That might be an unexpected thing in your budget. And your lender is going to want to look for that to make sure you covered that base. And beware, we used to say room for a pool, right? Isn't that a common thing that we see in marketing? Watch out for that one, guys. Could you imagine that you marketed room for a pool? They closed, and 18 months later, they go to get their permits to put a pool, and they find out that they're not allowed to, and they find out that the legislation that prevents them from doing that predates their closing. In other words, it goes back to the season when you owned the property and represented that there was room for a pool. This is defense, guys. Football defense. So let's go into some flood-related searches. This is where we're going to start going deep. You've got, so somebody give me a property that you know might be in the floodplain. Give me an address. Virginia? 5040 Okay. Hang on just a second. Let him get to the page. That's not it, but you did open it, right? Or I opened it. No, you opened Walter P. Moore, I think. But where is it?
The mouse jumps all over while you're waiting for it to delay, so you end up circling.
Yeah, and I've noticed that it has that little drop down.
And the problem I'm running into is where the tab I need to go to
Is underneath that?
Yeah, so that's why.
So maybe you move the tabs. Okay, here's what we're going to do, guys. I want to show you like a pilot's checklist. You're looking for a property like Virginia knows about, and you're going to start due diligence on that property. And what I'm suggesting to my peers is that the pilot's checklist will now look different than the way we used to do it. And that if we will do a few things on the front end, we may eliminate all the other work and we'll skip that property quickly. Okay? So the intent here is to kind of show you what we're doing. So you're going to have to put, you got to sign in. You got to put passcode. So this is an engineering firm that has mapped our region. And what this allows us to do is to plug in an address and look at that particular property and what's around it. And there'll be a legend that is going to show us the flood elevations. And I'm trying to describe it with words while Todd rescues it from the computer. Yes, sir.
What is that map that you showed there?
It's Walter. It's actually flood dash. You got.
Repeat the question. This question because they have
Okay. Okay.
What exactly is being shown
Well, that's
on that
not my
flood map?
email.
Is it the 500-year level or what?
II8 at Yahoo. That's a lot more. It's double. I do. Wow.
Richard, do you want to
Yes.
repeat the website? And it's actually free, by the way, to sign in. They want you to sign in, but it's free. They don't charge anything. Walter P. Moore .com.
I got two W's. I got two W's. I got a bonus. I got a bonus today.
Just sign in so you can put the addresses. It's free. It's free. You just have to sign
Okay.
in. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Richard, do you know what HAR is pulling up?
HAR, what I'm going to suggest to you, I'm a broker, I'm a member of HAR. What I'm going to suggest to you is that you cross-reference through more than one site. In other words, you don't just rely on HAR.
Trust but verify, right?
Remember, trust but verify, Ronald Reagan. Yeah. So the situation is we already know we have faulty maps. We flooded lots of properties that weren't supposed to flood. Okay. So let me put that in. Let me remember. Bingo. Okay. So Virginia, if you'll give Todd that address again.
5040 Mallow Street. Mallow. There you go. Right at the top.
It's still coming in. There it is. Okay.
Outside. Do you want to show them the
So would
legend?
you open the legend, Todd, over here? House is the red one right here.
So the house is.
See the red one? So looks good.
Repeat the address for today.
The address is in the upper corner there.
5040 Mallow Street.
Mallow Street. Yeah. So here's our legend.
Is it for sale, Virginia?
This blue is the 100-year floodplain. This green is what they call the 2%. It's the 500-year. What you don't know yet is if it's 2 feet above the 500 at the slab level, okay? And then you've got other colors for the floodway. So some interesting things are going to happen. The maps, in my opinion, for what the flood stuff is going to do, they're going to expand from an insurance standpoint. The line that used to be here is going to move. And the line that used to be here is going to move. And so there's going to be fewer properties in there that are out and are safe from an investment standpoint. This is part of what I'm talking about, anticipating what's ahead.
How do you deal with that?
I have other tools. This is only the first tool. This is only the first tool. All right, Todd, would you go to har.com? I already had that open. And we want to, yes, sir.
So Richard, I'm getting a little nervous.
I don't want you to get nervous. I want you to do critical thinking, and I want you to be calm, and you're going to land the plane safely.
Right, and that's why I'm here.
You're an
right
experienced
now,
pilot. You're going to land it safely.
Instead of at home stocking up on toilet paper, so I'm managing my risk.
Touche. Now I had the other portal open. Members only. Not the members only, it's the one matrix where it says matrix next to it to the right, up on the top tray, where it says matrix.
Over there, the red pink button.
Yeah, but I already have it open, so rather than open it twice,
Oh.
it's right there. Up there where it says matrix. Yes, sir. Yeah, okay. So let's go back. Yes, sir.
So
I'm sorry.
my question is, based on what you have said up to this point, I'm expecting that some communities, some subdivisions have the potential to become ghost towns, right? Because if folks cannot afford their flood insurance or even their regular insurance, because I'm sure those rates are going to go up as these lines move, then do these areas then become economic zones and only certain individuals with deep pockets can invest in those areas?
That's why one of the reasons you might have a developer in the room who looks at what can I get those for their tear downs, and they become lots for new builds. Yes, Pat.
So what happens in a neighborhood if you have a mortgage and they now require you to pay flood insurance that's something you can't afford? Does the mortgage company foreclose on you, or?
You signed an affidavit, not an affidavit, you signed an addendum at closing. All of us do it. That talk about what happens if flood insurance is now required and it wasn't required before, and what happens if it's more flood insurance, more property insurance, more insurance of any kind. A lot of people got hit by that some years back when windstorm got implemented, right? So they went from a house that didn't have windstorm insurance to one that had expensive windstorm insurance, right? It's same song, next verse, guys. It's the same song, next verse. You are correct. I appreciate people connecting the dots about cause and effect. I agree with you. There are going to be some neighborhoods that the economics are going to change. They're going to change. And the scenario I can see is certain people crying uncle and they walk away from their house, and then some more do it and some more do it. And then what happens to the people who remain?
Not only that, but then the tax base.
We've got tax base from a city of Houston standpoint or Harris County standpoint. there is pain ahead. And there's pain probably for people you know. And that's part of why we're doing this.
Yeah, with the new insurance rates for houses like this, will they cover the cost of elevation?
No, sir. No, sir. Ask the folks in Bel Air, Westbury, Meyerland. Yeah. You guys are identifying news articles that are ahead. You're identifying stuff on the 6 o'clock news that are ahead. And the media is going to take a position typically to paint it as dark as they can paint it, right? Because it sells advertising. They're in the advertising business. They just need stories that sell advertising.
You know, the sad part about this, they've known about these maps 2 years now, and they've been holding them back because they don't know how to release them. They've been worried about releasing them for Kingwood, and they've been worried about releasing them for Bel Air because they're all going to be in the flood zone. And they don't know how to release them.
So one of my chapters in life knows about this, some others know about this, is I went through the mold thing. I was a real case. My house should have been torn down. I was one of those claims. And what happened at that time, I'm not telling you that's what's going to happen here. But one of the reasons that what went from millions of dollars in lawsuits and payouts by the insurance company, it totally reversed. It flipped. During that time, they stalled me with 5 different adjusters, and they kept losing my file, quote. Well, what I found out was they were beginning to win in the courts. And what they used was they said that there's no benchmark. Some people get sick, bad sick. Some people, it doesn't affect them. How can we ensure there's no standard, there's no benchmark? And the EPA would not give them one, and that's how they won in court. They flipped that deal based on that. So I think there's going to be some with the standard if I were to look at precedent. Yes, sir. Yes, Ed.
Is this only residential? Does this also apply to like retail strip centers and mini warehouses and other good stuff?
It will definitely affect retail. You probably have seen stuff that flooded and water was up the walls this high and it's still sitting vacant. Yeah, there's commercial's going to get to share. I've had people come to me with multifamily projects, 240 units, and the bottom floor of all the units flood, and have done it repeatedly and in very nice areas. So what I'm suggesting to you with all of this, it's not to scare you, it's to get you to critical think. It's to make you be objective. It's to make you protect the people in your life you love. Begin there. And with your investments, adjust how you do things. So the question came out earlier about the flood map on the Houston Association listings, and I cannot see the arrow for the love of me. Where is it? Okay, thank you. So you can click on flood map and bang, go. It's there. No, that's a different address. That's area X. No flood insurance, guys. That's a color you want to look for on the map. Today. Yeah, I heard somebody say that like they were Australian. Today. So you can zoom in and zoom out and look at some of the areas around. I could have done that before, but we're going to have to move through. Yeah, Rick.
It's 500 plus 2, but if that 500 demarcation changes, then, so your flood elevation certificate's good today, but may not be good 2022, right? 2021 or 20, whenever the new maps come out.
Correct. Correct. And with the potential delays, the way the mapping system is set up, they have the right to have periods of public comment, and they have the right to do reviews. And so I'm letting you know that it's possible that you will not see that on the first day that they indicated that it might arrive. So this is why I'm saying to you, find some spots well out. Like there's this situation here, there's no flooding until you get some distance away. No, that's not the county line. No. So I'm going to suggest something else that you use in the interest of time. We all know HCAD, right? Harris County Appraisal District.org. Okay. So remember I mentioned earlier about valuations and permits. Okay. So I like using the one HAR has because I have access to it. It is something called Realist. And I really can't click the button very well. Wow. It's a shame getting old. So this is a breakdown on the value. And if you'll notice in this case, the land is valued at 40 in the 207. I mean the 167 right here. See where it says assessment and taxes 2019? This is where you want to look on HCAD, on Realist, on whatever tax tool that you use. You want to look in advance as to how that's assessed. If that's flipped and the value's in the land, you know, red flag, beware. Okay? Red flag, beware. So, all right. Number 2 there is the City of Houston's website. No, we're out of time. So there's the HAR and the Map Next. That's the website for the mapping system that is in process right now. And you'll be hearing a lot about that in the days ahead. So now let's work our way down here. I'm glad I eliminated so many slides. Okay, so insurance. Guys, it's no longer going to be a paint roller on a subdivision, and this is how they rate that subdivision. They're actually doing a risk assessment on an individual house, because what's north of you could affect your house, and on the opposite end of the subdivision, what's north of them may not have the same effect on their house. So Texas A&M developed Buyers Beware, and Todd, do you know where that is? It's in the tray. I opened it. It may be. There it is. Is this it? Nope. Yeah, that's what I was going to do. I was going to drag them. Double click where? Here. See if you can find the Buyers Beware. This is the great site. It does 4 different risk assessments, and it's going to give you a forecast of what's going to happen from an insurance standpoint for that property. And it rates 1 through 5, And it goes from green to red. Red is 5, you don't want red. You want greens. And you want green ones if you can. If you're trying to optimize the selection of that property. Would you go to Harris County? It's not double clicking, huh? There you go. Is it frozen or thinking or
Buyersbeware.com.
contemplating its navel? There it is. Bingo. No? That was a tease.
Where? At the bottom.
Oh, to proceed.
Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta sign your life away here.
Yeah, I did that the first time, but I've never had to do it since. So now go to Harris. Okay, 1811 Gardenia. Get me to the map, if you will. Yes, I did this before. Unless somebody else knows a house that is going to illustrate what I'm talking about. So go ahead and click on the blue. Yeah. Yeah, get the white bubble. Well, it's also slow in its refresh and its action, but what you do is you go into this website, it'll go right to that location. You click on the blue, it's going to open up a legend with a description of that particular property, and it has 4 different risk assessments. Again, we're looking at pilot's checklist, right? This is before you spend money on inspections. This is before you write a contract. Okay, so let's do this, Todd. Let's just go down here. We're going to go down here and just pick one of these that are in the fun zone. Yeah. All right, guys, rather than waste your time, I'm going to go back to the slides. You're going to get these websites and you'll be able to look. Where is the slides? There we go. Thank you. There's another map on here that I've added called New Flood Map. If you go on this site, this is the FEMA's maps, and it has parts of Texas, and our area is coming to a theater near you. Okay.
Is it all Texas?
It's all over the country, actually. Okay. So property tax valuations, I already pointed to HCAD and what's on HAR. Then this is permitting related searches. And these searches are going to allow you to find out what's been done, what's open, what is not closed, what will have to be dealt with after you acquire the property. Okay? Or might cause you to not acquire the property. Okay? And when I did the search on a particular property and I emailed in to request, they wanted to charge me $8.33 or something like that for the 3 years. I considered that pretty cheap insurance. And that's the number 2 item there. The other thing is on HAR's website, through your agent that you work with, there is the seller's disclosure. Remember, the seller's disclosure has all those changes about flooding and also has that paragraph 8 that goes into, did they permit? So if they answered that they did work and it's, yeah, we permitted it, it's all good, and you go look and see, you may find that there's some contrast between the seller's disclosure and what's reported. Yes, sir. That's correct.
They can jump behind that other part.
Correct.
That or clause.
Correct. Good catch. Yes, sir. Yes, Chuck.
Is that seller's disclosure a TREC contract or?
It's part of the Texas Property Code. It is required. As a seller, it's required.
Is it a TREC?
It's part of the TREC contract, but it's also,
be on TREC site.
it's on TREC site and TAR. Yeah. So, and then if you have multifamily, you're permitting, you would also look at Houston multifamily. Okay, so that's permitting. This is something I've added as soon as I can get the mouse to get there. These are other resources that track the legal, what's going on with that particular civic club, what's going on with regard to the major thoroughfare plan for the city of Houston. And I talked about earlier that you could sign up for the plat tracker and have that information come to you on a regular basis so you could see the moves of guys that are playing maybe at a higher level, and you might want to be like that small builder who comes in alongside and benefits from the dollars that they're going to spend in that area. It's the bottom one. It's number 5, and the slides will be available, Pat, after this.
Becky's gonna give you the information at the end of the presentation, so to go on and get the slides. That's why I was saying when you were taking pictures, I mean, you're welcome to do it, but you'll get the whole thing.
So I'm suggesting a revision of standard operating procedures for wholesalers, because you want to be able to sell your property, right? All right. For flippers, for guys who love to buy and hold, they're creating that future thing for their kids' education. And lenders, both public and private. In my opinion, as this is understood more, as it's exposed in the media, there are going to be lenders that are going to start getting some pressure by people who supply them money, because they're going to want to know, is my money safe? And what are you doing to watch out for my money? It could be a unique selling proposition, a USP. So, in closing, I'm suggesting that we use the tools before we ever jump out there very far on a property. I wouldn't want to waste my time and go look at a property until I had gone through this checklist of items. Wouldn't even want to waste my time looking, spend my gas. I'm suggesting that we be much more careful in where we put investment dollars, ours and that of other people that we're involved with, that we show respect to our investors and those who back us. And we demonstrate that perhaps by showing what we're doing to address these items. Might set you apart with other people who are competing to get investment dollars. The third thing is to look to the future. Oh, Richard, this one's 17 feet off the floodplain. It's out. It says no flood insurance. It says no risk. Is 17 feet going to stand when they change the maps, guys? Okay. Number 4, I suggest additional due diligence, specifically regarding how are the tax values structured. Is it more toward the lot or more toward the improvements? Be careful, because this could affect your permitting. Understand that they'll look at the cumulative permits. They'll look at the value of what needs to be done to that property. Do a lot of people do $50,000 on a property in rehab? All the time, right? 75, 100, all the time, guys. So could this be a pitfall for some people who were not expecting this to be a pitfall. And then just the permit side of it. Understand the city is now enforcing, and they will be increasing their enforcement. So beware of what you are willing to take responsibility for and sign your name in when it comes to those permits. And then the last thing, if it's in the city of Houston, if it's in Harris County, in my personal opinion, if it was my money in Fort Bend or in Galveston County, I would pay for an elevation certificate. What else did I have?
Richard, so
Were there-
some of the other counties they're gonna be following after
They're going to imitate.
after Harris County.
Correct.
So
They'll have pressure
Yeah.
because this is going to be considered a higher standard, and the citizenry are going to say, why aren't you following those same standards?
so even if you especially if you're gonna do buy and hold and planning to do it for long term, don't feel safe because it's outside of Harris County. A lot of the things will be changing, so it may change your exit strategy plan.
This is the major thoroughfare plan for the city of Houston. You can get that on the website I mentioned earlier. This is a little interesting thing about gentrification that talks about the changes in the susceptibility of certain neighborhoods. When people go to invest in certain areas, part of what they look at as a strategy is, why don't I go in and buy that house, make it rent ready, and hold it because the lot is 7,500 square feet instead of a 5,000 square foot over here. That is one of the forces behind gentrification, why people move their money to invest in those areas. You agree, Mike? So if Hector invites me back, I've got about another 80, 90 slides that go into, it's actually true, that go into what's going on with major development and what's going on with what they call flood resiliency and how that might impact property values. Every change creates an opportunity. It requires, what do people tell you in the stock market? The people who make money who can suppress their emotions, calm down, and think through the process, right? And they can make money when things are
Up and down.
Up and down, absolutely. Either way, they can do it. And sometimes they can make more going down than
Make
they
it
can up.
faster.
They can prosper.
Make it faster.
I'm suggesting to each of you, if you'll do your due diligence, if you'll work through the slides, if you'll think through it, get counsel, pray, for real, I'm suggesting to you that these changes could be the greatest financial opportunity for you that you've ever had in your career. Thank you for your attention.
Some good information? Awesome. Thank you, Hector. All right. So first of all, if you would like to get a copy of the slides for tonight, from tonight's presentation, go to realestateiq.co/survey B.